Adam of Conservative Sports and Trump Nation Sports channels on YouTube here. As you probably know, the Kansas City Chiefs have just won their first playoff game in 22 years. Ironically, that last postseason win was against the no longer in existence Houston Oilers. It was 30-0 Chiefs, a blowout from the start when they returned the opening kick for a touchdown. First postseason shutout by anyone in like a decade, and Andy Reid's first shutout ever in his 17 years as an NFL head coach. Kansas City and Houston wise, it was a much more convincing win than the world champion Royals had over the Astros in the playoffs this year. But, well, you can probably tell I have something of a Philly accent, and predictably enough, I have a lot of feelings about former Eagles coach Andy Reid. Also, I have some feelings about former Eagles wide receiver Jeremy Maclin, a really good guy from everything I know, and I hope the knee injury he sustained in the game isn't as bad as I fear. But anyhow, let's talk with Murray Levin of the Murray channel on YouTube, who, given his age, has been a diehard Eagles fan for several decades longer than I have, even if his Philadelphia accent isn't as obnoxious as mine. Murray, let me just get your thought as a longtime Eagles fan on redemption for Andy Reid. Obviously, 21 years since the Chiefs have won a playoff, the first shutout in 10 years in the NFL in a playoff game. You knew Andy Reid, the person.
I gotta say, I was very, very happy for Andy Reid because even though Philadelphia fans were kind of running him out of town at the end of his last season, 3 years ago, right before the Chip Kelly era, he did have a long and good career here and got us to the Super Bowl and had winning teams and built a great team. And I think he's a good recognizer of talent. I give him a lot of credit for bringing back Alex Smith, whose career was practically written off by the San Francisco 49ers and who had a spectacular day today. I feel like I'm one down, three to go. You and I spoke the other day about how we thought these first round of games would come out, and I picked all the road teams. And I have to say I'm surprised by the strength of the licking that Kansas City is giving to Houston. But I am happy for Andy Reid. I'm happy for Alex Smith, and I hope they go a little further.
Let me just ask you one question people have brought up. You know, we just had the debacle in Philadelphia, I think you can call it that, with Chip Kelly, who was clearly not a coach liked by the players. Andy Reid has gotten a lot of criticism through the years for his ability to in-game manage. And his first playoff game with the Chiefs was a disaster. And in terms of time management 2 years ago, and he couldn't even blame that one on Donovan McNabb, obviously. Does this show the relative importance during coaching searches of a guy who's well-liked by the players? You can always give the in-game duties to someone else, especially an offensive and defensive coordinator, but clearly the players love Reid. And also, before you go, just your thoughts on Andy Reid, the person. You know his reputation as a person, too.
Yeah, I mean, he was under a huge amount of personal family pressure, as we may have touched on earlier last time we spoke. With both of his sons in terrible condition, one actually dying, and the other in jail. I think he was always likable. I do remember toward the end of his tenure here, there was a lot of talk that he would give the same answer in that bad season, which was, I got to do better. Right. I got to do better. And that's not unique among coaches who find themselves in a losing streak. So I do agree with you both that he is liked by his players. He was renowned for his bad time management and for his seeming inability to adjust very well in the middle of a game. He might have a good game plan, and if the Eagles found themselves falling behind, they were not strong on the uptake in terms of adjusting and making a different formation coming in the second half. So I think you hit it on the nose both times there.
Yeah, I know you have to go. My feeling is it was the fans and the media especially that were sick of Andy Reid. I didn't get that impression about the players whatsoever. And the final,
I'm with you on that. I agree.
The final question I have is, does the Andy Reid factor make you root for the Chiefs the rest of the way out? I happen to like the Seahawks a lot just as a team. I like the personality, so I probably would go with them number one. But it's really hard not to root for the Chiefs with Andy Reid there. Are you rooting for them to win the Super Bowl at this point?
Well, I don't know that I care that much about that division, but I certainly wish them well. And as between Seattle and Kansas City, I will certainly go with Kansas City.
Kansas City and everyone else can't get an answer out of you? Do you have to root for the Vikings because your wife's Minnesota heritage?
Well, I'm looking forward to the 1 degree game.
Okay.
We can talk after that. Take care.
All right. See you. Thanks, Murray.